all-knowing. And in the realm of creation, from that no thing, that all possibility, we have different dimensions of experience reality which are different frequency ranges. So we have higher dimensions from this one, we have lower dimensions from this one, and keep out of them, I would say, for reasons I'll come to. But in that little frequency range in the middle, where our vehicle is decoding the frequency range of that dimension we call the physical world, that's where we are experiencing all the things we think is everything. But there are many other dimensions, and they interact with this one, which will become very important in the second half. Now, the body is a biological computer. By biological, I mean it has the ability to think for itself and assess information, not just react to data in a programmed way. It has the ability to think for itself up to a point. And it is the vehicle through which we experience this reality. When you want to go on the internet, you can't just go on the internet. You have to have an interface, a vehicle that takes you onto the internet so you can experience it, and we call it a computer. Well, in the same way, obviously in a vastly more sophisticated way, consciousness experiences this reality, formless consciousness experiences this reality through the body computer that we also call mind. It's like a genetic spacesuit that allows us to experience somewhere that normally we couldn't do. I mean, if I didn't have an outer shell that vibrated within the frequency range that I want to experience, I couldn't pick that bottle up. My consciousness, pure consciousness, can't pick that bottle up because the vibrational difference is so vast. So I take on an outer shell. That's what the body is, and we've come to believe that it's who we are. That's the trick, and that's how we've got caught. So it makes racism a nonsense, because we're all the same one consciousness. It's funny. Are you going to tell them or me? And humans, what we think we are, humans, what are you? I'm a human. It's a software program. It's a way of experiencing this reality, and the software program has different forms. We call them Australians and British and Croats and what have you. Now, DNA is like a software code. This is from an article on DNA in the San Francisco Chronicle by some physicist. It says DNA is a universal software code. From bacteria to humans, the basic instructions for life are written with the same language. And the difference in the language compared with the difference in the form that it expresses is fantastic. I mean, the difference between the DNA of a mouse and a human is negligible compared with the massive difference in outward expression. And these four codes, A, C, G, and T, depending on how they relate to each other, depends on whether you're a mouse or a virus or a human in physical form. And on another level, it expresses itself as digital. It's a digital construct here, which is why numbers are so important to these secret societies. And they're now having more and more development of what they call human-computer interface, where they can connect a human brain to a computer, and the brain works the computer without touching any keyboards. Now, the reason they can do that is because, although they're very different in sophistication, they're actually connecting two computers. That's what they're doing. So, the human body, if you look at the computer analogy, it's ticking box after box. What do we say when the computer gets a virus or something, and it gets slower and slower, and then eventually it won't even switch on? It happened to a computer I had a few years ago. It won't even switch on. What do we say? My computer's dead. Yeah. And what happens when its life force has been switched off, electricity? It goes cold, just like the human body does when its life force is gone. Computers go into sleep mode, where they're just ticking over and using minimum energy. That's what we do. That's what our body computers do. We have an immune system, which is our version, fantastically more advanced, of Norton antivirus or something, where it is there to pick up attacks on the body, as the antivirus technology is on computers, and stop them killing the computer. They both work on the same principle. This is a picture taken by a team at the Necker Hospital in Paris, where they put a dye into the acupuncture meridians that acupuncture is based on, and so many say don't exist, and then they photographed what they saw afterwards. And when you look at it, the first thing I said when I saw that was, it's a motherboard. And interestingly, what they found, because acupuncture is based on making sure the energy going around these meridian lines stays in balance. It's what the needles are put in for. And because the lines are circular, it means that if you've got a line going round the foot and up the body and round the head, you can actually cure a headache by taking a blockage out of that line that goes through the head at the level of the foot. And people go, you can't cure a headache by putting a pin in the foot. Well, you can if you don't understand what you're doing. And what they found is when this energy, which the Chinese call qi, is traveling around the body too slowly, or too quickly, I guess, as well, but certainly too slowly, then the body becomes ill in some way. Now, why is that? What do we say when information's passing around our computers too slow? We say, oh, my computer's not working well today. It's too slow. It's always ever so slow. Why is that? Because the information's not passing around the computer quick enough to be optimum speed. Well, when that qi energy is not passing around the body at optimum speed, exactly the same thing is happening, because that qi energy is information. The whole of this reality is information being decoded. The brain is the central processing unit of the computer. It filters all the information traffic. Of course, it's a microchip in a computer. And the brain is constantly decoding information and decoding or constructing our reality, and the messages are going around the body. The DNA and the genetic structure is like the hard drive, and the energetic version of the hard drive we call the aura, where information is held. Tremendous amounts of information are held in this genetic, energetic field. What we call cultures and races are just different software programs within the main computer system we call humans. Different experiences. This guy, William Sheridan, was having a heart transplant in a New York hospital. And while he was waiting to have the operation, he did an art therapy course. And he drew very childlike pictures, about as good as I would draw, because I'm rubbish at drawing. And then he had the operation, the heart transplant, and when he went back and recovered, he went back on the art therapy course, and started drawing much more sophisticated pictures that were coming out from he didn't know where. There's a couple of different versions that were in newspapers. And the art therapy person didn't know what was going on. But there are doctors who have documented how people have changed after transplants. Heart transplants is the big one, but lung transplants and other ones. How they have not only taken on personality traits of the donor, but have also taken on gifts and abilities of the donor that they didn't have before. Why? Because the transplant is the equivalent of a computer download. The transplanted organ and its energetic field hold information from the previous person's body computer, and that gets downloaded into the recipient, and they start getting affected by that information. It's all information. This is a great friend of mine, Credo Mutwa, a Zulu shaman in South Africa, and he said to me, back in the days when they used to eat people, they had this rule where they had to cook the people to a certain temperature, otherwise the idea was, or the legend was, that you became those people if you ate them at too low a temperature. Now, of course, when it comes to self-identity,